please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Zoom In with Ginny Panur. Hi, everyone. I'm Ginny Schuster, and I am here with Phil Mershon today. I met him through LinkedIn, and fabulous person. I'm so happy that we connected. He owns the business Return on Initiative. So I connected with him because my concern was I need to get out there and do more marketing. Well, it's hard to know exactly how to market, but in today's world, you've got to mass produce on social media is what my thinking was. So that was how I connected with him. And lo and behold, his business is in Phoenix, Arizona. He's since moved, which he told me about. But Phil, great to have you here. I would love to hear your story and how you, some of the fears that you overcame.
Yeah, we had some fears. When I started out, which was in 2010, and like you said, in Phoenix, we needed to generate income rather quickly. I mean, we were a brand new business and did not really know exactly what we were going to do, what we were going to kind of let follow the circumstances where they took us. And where they took us initially was in developing websites for our customers. There were a couple of problems with that. One, neither my then wife or I had ever built a website before.
Minor detail.
It was something to consider. It was on the to-do list. Learn to build a website. Make websites pretty. And
one morning we will wake up and we will be pros at this, honey.
That's right. A positive affirmation. I know how to make a website. Of course I do.
That's all it takes to get into business, isn't it?
That's it. That and the courage of the masses. But yeah, so we built websites, and we were scared to death because there's one of the things that any small business is going to face at some point is you've got to get paid. And that's
minor detail, right? How else are you going to make it in life?
You send them a bill, they pay you, everybody's happy. Well, right. No, not at all. Do you wait until the service has been rendered to pay? Do you request payment up front? Oh my God, if I ask them for money up front, they're not going to like me, and then they won't want to do business with me, and all these myths that you have to overcome because of a lack of self-confidence.
Right. Yeah, because you're just starting out.
And you don't want, and you're scared that your fear is going to show, because nobody wants to do business with somebody who's hungry.
They don't. Yeah.
So, and we weren't quite hungry, but we were afraid we were going to be. So we're calling people, and they're saying yes, and we're figuring out on the job how to make these websites, and we did, and they were not to be immodest, they were pretty darn good. They were better than we had any right to expect at that time. I mean,
so Phil, was your background in art, or because when I look at some of the websites, there's a certain amount of artistic ability in them.
You're very kind. Thank you. The ones that you're seeing are not the ones from 12 years ago. Yeah. No, to answer your question, no, my background is in the written word. I have a master's degree in English and sociology. Two great career choices, if you're a young kid out there and you want to make $1 million, I'm not sure those are the two fields you want to go into, but
no, I think I agree with you.
But the funny thing about it, though, I mean, it's a circuitous path. It's certainly not a direct path, but you do learn how to think. If you didn't know how to think before, you learn that kind of an education, and many other kinds, including, the hard knocks of the world, will teach you how to think. And what I mean by that is that you have to be good at listening and processing what you hear, and understanding that what somebody is telling you and what they really mean may not necessarily be the same thing, but they
Oh,
will
yeah.
hold you accountable for what they mean, not what they said.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to engage the person and look them in the eye and have a real dialogue, not one where you're trying to manipulate the person into doing business with you, but the exact opposite of that, where you actually talk to the person because you find them interesting. And you find something in that person in the first couple of minutes that you're able, and it's not acting, it's got to be real, that you find interesting enough to have a conversation about. You ask them about their family, you ask them about their kids, not because you're trying to manipulate them, but just because you're a nice person and you're trying to get that out of them. You're trying to get to that nice person part of them. And once you do that, then business may transact, it may not. More often than not, it will, because eventually the person you're talking to is going to scratch his head and say, I don't think you just called up to ask me about my kids. What was it you wanted? And and so there was that. And it took us longer than it takes a lot of people to accomplish the same thing. But the difference was that once you become a client of ours, you typically stay a client of ours. We don't have to go back and motivate you to come back next month. You stay motivated because, well, we continue to have nice conversations. And we like to think that if we know about what motivates you as a human being, then we know a little bit more than the other guy will about what motivates you as a business person.
Yep.
What do you really want to get? But you were
Now
asking
that's tough, because don't a lot of people think they know what they want, but they don't necessarily know how to either communicate it, or they're not really clear.
100% correct. If I have kind of a mental sentence that I go by, which is, if it takes somebody more than 30 words to tell you what their occupation is, they don't know what their occupation is.
Uh-oh.
And
Oh,
well, because it can change. And I mean, that doesn't mean that that's not necessarily a bad thing. That may mean that
okay.
the person is in a transitory position. Well, I used to work at Charles Schwab, and then I realized that I could do the things that Charles Schwab is doing, but I could do it more efficiently and more effectively. And I've just asked them what they do for a living, and I've gotten that story.
Yeah.
I still don't know what they do, but they're kind of figuring it out too. Well, okay, that's still an answer.
Right.
It means we need to fine tune that a little bit. And maybe the answer is, when call us back. Here's my number, please. I'd love to hear from you. But right now, I'm not going to take your money because you don't know what you're doing.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
It happens,
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, we're in a fortunate position to be able to afford to do that. In the early days, you fish with hot dogs, as a friend of mine said. Yeah, we're doing really terrific right now. We have we have 24,000 and change clients on the books as I sit here.
Wow, that's terrific.
We started out. Can I tell you how we started out? How we got our?
I'm eager to hear. Yes.
Okay, so it was my then wife, Lisa Ann, had been working for some horrible call center, selling, I don't remember what, something nobody needed. And
that's what they usually are.
yeah, it's light bulbs that glow in the dark or something.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, she came home one evening and she said, I quit. I'm done. I'm not going back there. I said, oh, that's too bad.
You're right. Yeah.
That second income sure was helpful. And
and what were you doing at the time? Had you already started this business?
I had a pension from American Express. I had not started this business. I had worked at American Express for a number of years. And funny enough, right where the Charles Schwab building now is. Anyway, yeah, so I was freelance writing. I was freelance writing at the time. So my income was terrific when it happened. It was sporadic though, unfortunately. And her income really made a difference. So I said, well, what do you think we ought to do? And she said, here's what we're going to do, pal.
I love
He said,
it.
this is what do you see this stack of papers in my hand here? And I said, yeah, what is that? She said, well, sit down because I've got a story. And what she said was that we're going to start our own business. But the difference is, unlike the company she had quit, we're going to actually do what we say we do. And what we're going to do is we're going to build websites for businesses, e-commerce websites, and we're going to really build them, not just say we are. And I said, well, that seems like a good idea, doing what you say you're going to do. That's cool. Where are we going to get these customers from? There's, nobody's coming by and knocking on the door.
I'm looking out the window. I don't hear the doorbell ringing.
Come on, why not? Come on in.
Yeah, maybe put up a plaque. Maybe glow in the dark.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah,
this light bulb could be your future.
Yeah.
So what we did was, she had this stack of papers, and on every sheet of those papers, there had to be 1,000 sheets. On every sheet of it, there was about 20 names and email addresses and telephone numbers. And I said, where did you get those? And who are those people? And she said, well, what these are people, these are our leads from the office that I don't work at anymore.
Yeah.
Where'd you get them?
And they did not see me walk out with this stack of papers at all. So
it was worse than that.
I'm clear.
She, there was a homeless guy sniffing around the dumpster where they had discarded that stack of leads that I was telling you about. And Lisa Ann was not going to crawl into a dumpster. She was kind of a foo-foo gal. She was not going to get her fingernails dirty, hair messed, nothing. So she gives this guy, she says, I'll give you $100 if you go into that dumpster and bring me out that stack of papers like this. And the guy says, for $100, I'll bring you the whole dumpster, whatever you want. And he came in, got it out. She put him in the back of the car. She brought him to the house. And now we had, I don't know, about 100,000 leads.
Wow.
Phone numbers, about half of which were no good, but the other half were. And again, keep in mind, this was 12 years ago. So I don't know what I'm doing. So I just pick up the phone and I dial the first number, and I do like a real George Costanza bonehead thing. I say, yeah, hey, buddy, you want to buy a website? What do you mean, no? Are you kidding me? Yeah. But it got refined over time. And I began to find out that almost everybody I talked to had been burned. They were on this list, right?
Yeah.
So if I had that list, so did 300 other guys. The difference was these other 300 people were, for the most part, scammers. Taking advantage of, they're doing really one of the worst things that you can do, in my opinion, which is to take advantage of a person's hard work and initiative and hopes and aspirations for themselves and their family, just to make a few lousy dollars. And that was despicable. And that was why Lisa had quit the job. And in the first place was when she realized that she was working for those kinds of people. So we would have their websites built in like 72 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And I say all of that to say this, that we made these beautiful websites, and man, we were proud, and we were getting nice emails back from people saying, we never really expected you to do this, but you did, and you did it quick. And thanks. And my cousin Irving owns a laundromat. Could you make one for him too? Yes, we could. Be happy to do that. So before we even got halfway through this list, it's about 6 months on. Yeah, about 6 months. And the phone starts ringing from some existing customers, and they say, love the website, got a problem. Nobody knows my website's out there.
Oh.
It's a thing of beauty. It's better than I expected. And nobody has ever seen it but me.
Well, I'm fascinated, and I hope our audience is too.
I hope so.
Because this is kind of make it or break it in business anymore. There's so much that's online. Yes, you've got your local chamber of commerce and all your networking that's local. Well, that might be good for chiropractors, lawyers, your local businessman. But an awful lot of business nowadays is spread out globally. It's not just the United States. So all this stuff is important for people to realize and understand the depth that you've gone into here and studied so that it can be effective for them.
I think it's really important. We were talking before about, can you describe your job in 25 to 30
Yeah.
whatever. For most people, if you give them enough time, they can do that. And if you ask the right questions and you do care enough about what matters to them to get the answers, you'll find that in a lot of cases, what they can do here cannot quite be replicated by other people. If you're passionate about what you do, there might be a reasonable facsimile of what you do that's a little bit less expensive, but it's not going to convey the passion and the creative impulses and the uniqueness that is you.
Right.
That's not going to come from somebody else.
Right.
So I'm not being jingoistic when I say that. I'm not talking about people in the Philippines or anywhere else. I'm saying you versus your neighbor, or you versus the person across town or in another state.
No, that's what I keep hearing also, that if it doesn't come from the heart, people can read right through you. So you better find out exactly what it is that you love doing, or you're not going to have any customers because you're so busy trying to figure out what to say that you're not listening to what their needs are.
How are you going to keep a staff if you don't love what you're doing? If you don't wake up every morning and as your feet are touching the floor for the first time that day, if you're falling anything short of this, it's a shame. There needs to be electricity going through you. You need to have a half a dozen ideas before you pull your sorry self out of bed. And you give your person a big old kiss and you say, baby, you just sleep in. I got some things I got to do before I forget to do them. And you run off and you put on the coffee. And while you're doing that, you're getting dressed while you're making the coffee, and you got over here and you've got your little notepad and you're writing down ideas, and you're wondering if everybody showed up for work today. Probably not. Okay, let's find out. Boom. And but you're exuding this almost manic state, not really manic, but kind of in a positive sense.
Right.
And your staff is going to feed off of that. Whether it's one person or it's 30.
Yep.
They're going to come to work and they're going to say, gee, boss, we don't charge nearly enough for our stuff, but you know what? We sure do got a lot of customers. And
and we're making a lot of people very happy.
Yes. And we don't get people calling up complaining about stuff. I've never worked any place where people call up to tell us thanks. And or a customer calls up and says, I had this idea, and somebody listens instead of saying, I'm sorry, we don't do that. This is not McDonald's. I got a stack of applications on my desk for McDonald's.
Yeah, what we give you.
Yeah, if you're not happy here.
Wendy's is down the street.
There you go. But never had to use those yet. Anyway.
And that's why we're in business. Thank you, Phil, so much for coming on. I absolutely love doing this with you and all the great information that you shared. What a hoot you are.
You are, if I were to ever to describe the ideal client, you get asked that, can you tell me about your ideal client? I would have a hard time finding somebody better than you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you. And I hope people reach out to you, comment, like, subscribe, and Phil will get right back to you, as I said. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Jenny.